Check, check. Welcome to the Furry Birdy yoga vlog. Get some shaky camera in there, huh? Because I put on my gloves because I'm in the wilds of Tontonia. So it's been a couple of weeks. A lot has been happening. And I've been at odds with what to share. So, I want to talk about a couple of things that happened recently. First of all, I talked about how we can always have this place of light in us, you know? And it's a really great thought. And I've been cultivating that thought. Particularly, I was in class the other day, and the class was being run by the incomparable Donna. And she's a great teacher. She's a great yoga teacher. She's a wonderful human. And she usually says something along the lines of come up with an affirmation. Like, I am great. I am beautiful. I am a sexy beast. You know, you come up with some kind of affirmation in your mind. And hold on to that thought and know that it's true. And when she said that, you know, first of all, I kind of go into two different places. If I'm in a class and I'm trying to, you know, really, you know, be a student, so to speak. We're always students, yeah, but you know, if I'm not at the head of the class, if I'm in the masses, I'm either really deeply withdrawn into myself doing yoga, or I'm like locked out of my own house, knocking on the door, trying to get in to do yoga. I don't, you know, like I've got like an on and an off kind of a thing. Whereas I can really get into my space, I disappear from the cosmos, or I can't. I need more time, more something, a catalyst of some kind. So this particular time, I was floating off into my yoga space, my inner space, not to be confused with the film. And Donna had said that we, you know, come up with an affirmation and know that it's to, you know it to be true. And I immediately said to myself, I am always on my mountain. And every time I say that out loud, like I get chills. I get giddy. I feel really good. It's a really powerful feeling. I don't need to go to the Pemi Wilderness and hike to be on my mountain. So I've been cultivating that a lot. And sometimes on mountains, you have bad weather that you're not prepared for. And you do your best to handle it. It's great. I'm having a really good time cultivating this pattern of thought. So that's one thing that's been happening. The other thing that I want to talk about is the notion of emotion. The notion of emotion on the ocean. The notion of emotion as it pertains to particular yoga asanas or stances or poses, positions. Come up with a few more words. We were learning backbends in class the other day, and Radical was relating to us that backbends can have a lot of emotion attached to them because of the way they work physically. That you're opening up a large, vital area to the world. And I can understand the idea, but I did not own the idea. I related it to the opposite, which is that if somebody is really downtrodden, or they're hurt, or they've experienced a lot of trauma, they tend to shrink in on themselves. They tend to get smaller, and they tend to hunch, and they're really protecting this whole area. So I could understand that to be an emotional response to the circumstances that you're in, right? But I didn't exactly understand the idea that backbends could be difficult because of the emotional content. Not just because I haven't experienced that, just because I didn't know the truth that she was speaking, doesn't mean that it's not true. I hadn't seen it yet, and I was trying to be open-minded to it. So we went through locust. Locust was kind of interesting. Turns out I have something called a super locust. Maybe I'll do a video on that someday, maybe not. And we did bow. And I learned some things about bow. I was doing bow kind of foolishly. I had some things going on there. I figured those out. That was kind of cool. And we'd been going now for a couple of hours, and we were getting in towards the back end of the class. We started to get into Camel. And I'm try not to say, unless I really am asking it as a question. So I'm still running this I am always on my mountain subroutine in the background, and I'm feeling pretty groovy. I'm trying to pick up everything she's putting down, and not a lot of the stuff about emotional content of backbends is landing for me. And we start getting into Camel, and I'm not a fan. At the time, I wasn't digging Camel much. I thought it was a lot and unnecessary. So she's walking us through Camel, and we kind of get into this sort of not quite camel, where your hands are in, like almost in your back pocket, so to speak. The palms of your hands, the heel of your hand is on the top of your pelvis, and you're leaning way back over here, and it feels like what it feels like. And then she's, and we rest for a bit, and we're talking, and we're getting into all these particulars, and then we get into full Camel, and she's talking us through it. And I reach back and slide my hands down, and I'm able to grab my heels, and I do this Camel. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa. And so I do it again. I do this Camel, and I'm thinking, oh man, wow. And Radica starts talking about some other things, some other students are asking questions, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna look at this again. So I go and do Camel again. By this time, she's now talking us through another one, so I just kind of fall into that exercise. And I do this light-filled, blazing, woo-ha Camel. And I'm overwhelmed with this feeling of euphoria and roast apples and cinnamon and hot cider and pine needles. And I just kind of came out of Camel and then gently flopped on my mat. And I just kind of laid there having a great time. I was just like lounging on the top of my mountain amidst the scents and aromas of apples and cinnamon. And I gotta tell you, there's a lot of emotional there's a lot of emotional connection to backbends. It's great stuff. It was something else. Whew. The memory of it stirs me up and makes me want to go have some cider. So that's remarkable to me. That I'm able to have that truth now. It makes me very happy to have that truth, to have witnessed. Uh, the other thing, the last thing I'm going to bring up regarding emotional content of asanas is mountain. If mountain is supposed to be the way we naturally stand, then why isn't that? Wouldn't it also be the way we naturally walk? So whenever I'm walking about, let's say I get out of my car, I stand next to my car for a moment and I find my mountain, and then I go about my business. And I'll tell you what, it feels good. I feel like I'm strutting my stuff or something. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of emotional involvement in yoga poses. So that's been my practice lately. Thanks for coming along. And I'll see you on the mats. Take care.